What if the biggest lie you've ever believed is the idea that there's a right time to start the most meaningful chapter of your life? What if all this waiting, all this planning, all this hoping for the perfect moment has only been fear wearing a mask? We spend years telling ourselves, I'll be ready when things settle, not realizing life never truly settles. We compare our timing to everyone else's highlight reel, forgetting that every journey is messy behind the scenes. We wait for confidence to magically appear, forgetting that confidence is built after we step forward, not before. What if the truth is that readiness isn't something you feel, it's something you create? What if the future you want is on the other side of a decision you've been too scared to make? And what if the moment you stop waiting for the world to align is the moment your life finally begins to? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just break the biggest myth you've ever been told about timing, fear, and the courage to choose your own path. What if the perfect timing you're waiting for is the very thing keeping you stuck in the biggest lie of your life? We grow up believing there's this flawless golden moment when everything will magically fall into place, when our bank account will finally look adult, when our relationship will feel unshakably stable, when our mental health will be spotless, when responsibilities will somehow shrink, and when our mind will whisper, now you're ready. But that moment is a myth, a beautifully packaged lie, a lie repeated so often that it feels like truth. The idea of perfect timing is society's greatest illusion because life has never operated on perfection. It operates on chaos, on surprise, on sudden turns that nobody sees coming. Waiting for the right time is like waiting for a storm-free year. It sounds possible until you realize there's always another cloud forming somewhere. Think about it. Every time you say, I do it when things settle, life throws something new at you. A job change, a financial dip, a family issue, a health scare, a heartbreak. Life doesn't pause just because you're planning. Life doesn't say, let me make everything smooth so you can decide peacefully. Life keeps moving, and sometimes the longer you wait, the louder your fears become. But here's the truly shocking part. Most people don't wait for the right time. They wait for the right feeling, that sudden rush of confidence, that magical sense of readiness, that certainty that never actually arrives. Readiness isn't a moment that shows up at your door. It's something you build step by messy step. And the lie of perfect timing keeps you from taking the first step at all. We lie to ourselves by calling it preparation, planning, maturity, but underneath that polished language is fear, fear of responsibility, fear of failure, fear of change, fear of not being enough. And to protect ourselves from that fear, we create the illusion of a future moment when everything will be easier. But that future never comes. Not because life is unfair, but because perfect timing is nothing more than a comforting fantasy that stops you from living the life you're meant to live. So the real question is not when is the right time. The real question is what if the right time never comes, and the only thing standing between you and your next chapter is the lie you keep believing. What if the words, I'm not ready, are not wisdom, but the most dangerous lie you keep telling yourself? We say it so casually as if it's pure logic. I'm not ready yet, maybe later. But beneath that simple sentence hides something darker, something we don't want to admit. Fear dressed up as maturity. We convince ourselves that we're being responsible, careful, thoughtful. But what if the truth is that we're running from a reality that feels too big, too heavy, too life-changing? Fear is clever. It doesn't always scream or shake your hands. Sometimes it wears a suit. Sometimes it sounds like logic. It says, think it through, wait a little longer, make sure everything is perfect. And because fear looks so polished, we trust it, we obey it, we call it timing when what it really is terror. We fear losing our freedom, we fear losing control, we fear responsibility, we fear not being enough for another human being, and instead of facing those fears, we hide them under socially acceptable phrases like, I need to be more stable, or I'm still figuring things out. But here's the shocking truth. People who became parents at 20 weren't ready. People who became parents at 35 weren't ready. People who became parents at 40% weren't ready. Nobody is ever completely ready, not emotionally, not mentally, not financially. Because readiness is not a destination you reach. It's a transformation that happens after life pushes you forward. We keep waiting for confidence to magically appear. But confidence doesn't come before responsibility. It comes because of responsibility. You learn as you show up. You grow as you try. You become ready in the same way people become strong, by lifting something heavier than what they were used to, and the fear you think is protecting you might actually be stealing your future. Because fear never says, okay, now you're ready. Fear will always find a new reason, a new excuse, a new delay. Fear's goal is not to prepare you. It's to paralyze you. So what if I'm not ready isn't a sign that you should wait, but a sign that you've been letting fear drive your life for far too long? What if the reason you feel not ready is because you're comparing your life to people who aren't even living the truth they show you? We live in a world where timelines are no longer personal. They're public. Every scroll shows someone getting married, someone having kids, someone buying a house, someone building a perfect life with perfect captions and perfect lighting. And somewhere inside you, a voice whispers, look at them, you're behind. But what if that voice is lying to you? What if the life you're comparing yourself to isn't even real? Comparison is the silent thief that steals confidence, clarity, and courage. You're not evaluating your life, you're competing with illusions, you're measuring your readiness based on people who might be struggling behind closed doors, terrified just like you, but too afraid to admit it. Someone posts their baby announcement with smiles, but they don't show the breakdowns, the doubts, the nights they questioned everything. Someone posts their stability, but not the loans, the pressure, the fear. We compare our raw reality to everyone else's highlight reels and then wonder why we feel unprepared. But here's the part no one talks about. Every person you compare yourself to has a different story, different circumstances, different strengths, different battles. Their timing will never match yours because their life was never meant to mirror yours. Yet society treats life like a race, as if there's a universal age for everything. Married by this age, kids by that age, career before this age. But these rules are made up. Someone invented them and we've all been blindly following them. Comparison convinces you that your path is wrong simply because it's different. It tells you you're late when maybe you're right on time. It tells you you're unprepared when maybe you're exactly where you need to be. It tells you others have figured it out when maybe they're just better at pretending. And the shocking truth? Most people who judge your timing are secretly insecure about their own. People project pressure because they feel pressure. They push timelines on you because they're terrified of questioning their own choices. So what if the problem isn't that you're not ready? What if the real problem is that you've been letting other people's lives decide the pace of your own? What if feeling ready is the biggest emotional trap you've fallen into and you don't even realize it? We keep waiting for that magical morning when we'll wake up with clarity, confidence, and certainty, a moment where everything inside us whispers, now I'm finally ready. But that moment isn't coming, not because you're broken, not because you're weak, but because emotional readiness is not something you feel before a big step. It's something you develop through that step. Think about the biggest decisions of your life. Starting a new job, moving to a new city, beginning a relationship, ending a relationship, chasing a dream. Did you ever feel 100% ready? No. You felt scared, unsure, confused. But you still moved. You grew into the readiness, you built the strength after the decision, not before it. Yet, somehow when it comes to having kids, we expect a different rule. We expect certainty before we leap. We expect peace before chaos. We expect confidence before responsibility. But that's not how life works. The shocking truth is this: emotional readiness is a myth created by people who don't want to admit they're afraid. It's an excuse we polish, a shield we hide behind, a story we tell to avoid facing the unknown. Because if we say I'm not emotionally ready, it sounds deep, wise, thoughtful, when really it's fear wearing a spiritual mask. Real readiness isn't a destination, it's a transformation. You grow emotionally because someone needs you. You develop patience because life becomes bigger than you. You learn strength because responsibility sharpens you. A child doesn't enter your life when you're emotionally perfect. A child teaches you how to love deeper, feel stronger, break old patterns, and rise in ways you never imagined. But we've been taught to treat emotions like weather, as if they need to be clear before we can start the journey. Life doesn't wait for calm skies. It shapes you during the storms. Every parent you admire didn't start confident. They became confident. They didn't begin emotionally ready. They grew into the person their child needed. So what if the emotional readiness you're waiting for is actually hiding behind the very leap you're too scared to take? And the moment you stop waiting, you finally become the person you were meant to be. What if the pressure you feel isn't guidance, but a trap designed to make you doubt yourself at every step? We grow up thinking the people around us, family, relatives, friends, society, are giving us advice because they care. But when it comes to the right time for kids, their words don't feel like support, they feel like chains. One person tells you you're too young, Another says you're too old. Someone warns you to hurry before it's too late, while someone else says wait until you're fully settled. And suddenly you realize something disturbing. No matter what you choose, someone will always say you're wrong. This pressure isn't about your life. It's about their expectations, their beliefs, their fears, their idea of what your timeline should look like. People project their insecurities onto you because it's easier than confronting their own regrets. They tell you to follow their path because it convinces them they made the right choices. They impose their timelines on you because deep down, they're terrified that life might be more flexible, more unpredictable, more personal than they ever allowed themselves to believe. And here's the shocking part. People don't pressure you because they know what's right. They pressure you because they can't handle you choosing differently. Your choices threaten their comfort. Your independence challenges their beliefs. Your freedom exposes the limits they placed on themselves. So instead of dealing with their discomfort, they try to control you. This pressure creates a fog inside you, a confusion so heavy that you stop hearing your own voice. You start living through their lens, doubting every instinct, questioning every feeling. You start thinking something is wrong with you because your timeline doesn't match theirs, but nothing is wrong with you. Something is wrong with the world that thinks every soul should grow at the same pace. Pressure makes you forget that your life is not a community project. It's not a tradition to be followed. It's not a checklist to be completed. It's a deeply personal journey that only you will live, only you will feel, only you will carry. So what if the real issue isn't that you're confused about the right time? What if the real issue is that you've let too many voices speak over the one voice that actually matters, your own? What if the thing you're waiting for, stability, certainty, perfection, is actually the very thing stopping you from discovering the truth about becoming ready? We've been taught that readiness comes from circumstances, that once the bank balance is strong, the house is set, the relationship is stable, the job is secure, suddenly a switch will flip inside us and we'll feel prepared for a child. But that belief is not just wrong. It's the most misleading idea society has ever sold, because readiness doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the inside, and the inside only grows when you choose to love something bigger than your fears. People think kids need perfect parents, fully healed parents, financially solid parents, emotionally stable parents. But children don't measure readiness in money, houses, or flawless mental states. They measure it in love, presence, effort, patience, and the willingness to show up even on the days you feel broken. What life doesn't tell you is that circumstances don't magically create capability. Responsibility does. Commitment does. The decision to love does. The shocking truth is this: people become ready through the process of raising a child, not before it. The sleepless nights, the tiny victories, the challenges, the laughter, the mistakes, these are the moments that shape you into a parent, not the preparation, not the planning, not the perfection. The journey itself melds you into someone stronger, someone softer, someone wiser. We wait for fear to disappear. But fear doesn't vanish when circumstances improve. Fear disappears when love becomes bigger than fear, when the desire to nurture outweighs the terror of the unknown, when the thought of giving life meaning becomes more powerful than the fear of changing your own. Love has always been the real creator of readiness, not money, not timing, not circumstances. Love teaches you responsibility. It teaches you patience. It teaches you strength. It expands your heart and rewrites your identity. A child doesn't enter your life when everything is perfect. A child teaches you what truly matters, even when everything around you feels imperfect. So what if the right time you're searching for has nothing to do with your situation? What if readiness begins the moment you decide to love fearlessly, imperfectly, and wholeheartedly, even when nothing in your life looks perfect at all? In the end, the truth is simple but uncomfortable. There is no perfect timing, no flawless moment, no universal rule for when to start the next chapter of your life. The lie of the right time was never meant to guide you. It was meant to limit you. You've been waiting for certainty that doesn't exist, comparing your journey to lives that aren't even real, hiding fear behind logic, and letting voices that don't walk your path control the direction of your future. But the moment you stop chasing perfection and start choosing courage, everything changes. You don't become ready first. You become ready through the journey. You grow into the person life is calling you to be. And sometimes the bravest thing you can ever do is simply decide for yourself, without apology, without fear, and without waiting for permission from the world. Thank you for giving your time, your mind, and your heart to this message. I hope it reminded you of your strength, your freedom, and your right to live life on your terms. Whatever chapter you choose next, may it be filled with clarity, courage, and authentic happiness. Trust yourself, trust your timing, and trust the journey you're about to begin. Good luck. I believe in you. And thank you for being here.